Everyone, remember that short that I made about this image right here? So I asked, what is Sony really telling us through this promo art? Gwen's death? Miles' death? Well, turns out that there is none, so there's your first spoiler. So let's talk about what really happened. Mark! What it is, optimistic moviegoers, and welcome back. I am your host, Frank, and I just saw Across the Spider-Verse 2 days ago, and this is what I have to say. Once again, Sony Pictures serves the audience with great animation and storytelling with Miles Morales and the Spider People. Now, most of the characters from Into the Spider-Verse return in the sequel, along with the introduction of Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. We also have Spider-Punk, Spider-Man India, Jessica Drew, aka the OG Spider-Woman. And yeah, let's not forget Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider as well. Now, the story picks up about a year after the events of Into the Spider-Verse. Miles confronts the Spot, the main villain of the story. Now, if you're not familiar with the Spot, this villain has the power to create these wormholes, teleporting an item from one place to another. And fun fact, at one point in the comics, he creates one that leads to the Negative Zone. So this character does have a tie-in arc with the Fantastic Four. But we're not here to talk about the Fantastic Four. While the Spot is going around using his ability to break through alternate universes, Miles joins Gwen as they both venture through the Spider-Verse, where they meet other variants of themselves. And there they meet Miguel O'Hara and reunites with Peter B. Parker, and also gets introduced to Peter's daughter, May. Also, another fun fact, in the comics, May Parker, little May Parker, grows up to be Spider-Girl. Which, of course, yes, I am excited to and hoping that she will show up in the next installment of Into the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, which we'll get into it later. Now, as always, I will have to issue further spoiler warnings. If you have not seen Across the Spider-Verse yet, this is your chance to stop the video, save it, and then once you've seen it, then come back and watch the rest of the review. Anyways, Miguel explains to Miles that the reason why he gathers all the Spider-Man is to work on preserving the multiverse by fixing anomalies called canon events. And honestly, the way I understood this was almost, if not entirely, something similar to how the MCU explains a Nexus event. Which, if you have not seen the Loki series, is when a new branch of reality is created due to an event even smaller, changes the event in the timeline that it's taking place, and that creates a new path beginning to form from the main course of reality, veering off into a new one. So in this case, we see that Miles saves a police captain from dying in Spider-Man India's universe, and that's the cause of a canon event. But eventually, Miles also learns that the spider that bit him in Into the Spider-Verse was not meant to bite him, because that spider was from a different universe, which connects to the ending of this movie where Miles ends up in a universe where that spider is actually from Earth 42. And in that universe, there is no Spider-Man. And Miles' variant himself, of course, is actually the Prowler instead of his Uncle Aaron. And speaking of Uncle Aaron, we get a confirmation that we have been speculating and theorizing for a long time now, ever since Spider-Man Homecoming, because Donald Glover makes an appearance in this movie, a cameo if you will, where Miguel keeps like these prisoners, I'm guessing these villains that are responsible for those anomalies from different universes, and a live-action Prowler is actually prisoned in there. And we all know that the Prowler was Miles' Uncle Aaron, which in this case, Donald Glover basically reprised his role as this uncle who had to go take care of his nephew, as he mentioned in Spider-Man Homecoming. So this basically also confirms that there is a Miles Morales in the MCU, and we are yet to see him. Now, I really don't have anything to nitpick on as far as the characters' performances, let alone the voiceovers. But let me just start off with Miguel O'Hara, voiced by none other than my top favorite actor, Oscar Isaac. He just crushes it as Spider-Man 2099. Now, you can just tell that even though Miguel comes off as extremely serious, stoic, and like, you know, going by the book type of guy, he still has that Spider-Man quirkiness, especially with a few jokes he unintentionally makes. Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk, is the one Spider-Man who I had fun watching. He's voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, and in every scene and line that he says, he just steals the moment. We also get introduced to Jessica Drew, who's the original Spider-Woman. Obviously, Spider-Man India, I mean, it's the Spider-Verse. Because obviously we get the scene with all of them all grouped in this huge space, and kind of makes you wish that you already have like a Blu-ray or even own it on digital already, so that you could pause and like spot all the Spider-Man that you could recognize. Now, as far as the main characters we met in the first film, all returning, and this movie just brings out more heart to each of them. It just makes us grow to care more about them, including deeper backstory of Gwen Stacy. There was a moment where this movie did feel like a large focus was on Gwen than it did for Miles. But in the grander scope of things, as far as the story entirely, both Gwen and Miles are the lead characters of this story. One of my greatest takeaway from the movie is the moment shared between Miles and his mom. The part right before he left, he said, "Bendiciones, mami," and she responded, "Dios te bendiga." And you know, for a greater part, I identified so much, and I honestly just felt represented as a Latino because, you know, this is how unique the story of Miles just feels, just bringing in his culture through his relationship with both of his parents, how much he cares about his uncle. And really, part of my identity, I mean, I'm welling up just talking about it, is it just felt so significant, and I felt so proud just being myself, just seeing that dynamic between Miles and Mom. Now, of course, I have to talk about the visual illustration of this movie. We see the same graphic design from the previous movie, but we also get a glimpse of different styles based on the characters and universe we come across. I honestly can't say enough of the amazing craftsmanship that is in the animation and style. A good example I enjoyed watching was Gwen's universe. It was designed with all these colorful painted background, and how the color changes based on how she is feeling and what she is going through, especially the scene between her and her father. I mean, just the variations of style Sony created makes the movie vibrantly enjoyable. So with all of that said and done, I'm honestly gonna have to give this movie a rating of 9.5 out of 10. I mean, dare I say that this movie could well top the Into the Spider-Verse story, honestly. I mean, the pacing is a little off because it kind of drags a little bit, but that's only because this is a piece of the franchise. It's a part one of Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, how many great movies out there has had like cliffhanger that tells the audience like, you know, these folks, this character will return, and the climate is going to build up in the final part of this trilogy. And that's what we're gonna get in Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is gonna be released in March of 2024, and I really can't wait for that to happen. Is the movie recommendable? 1000%. Rewatchable? Absolutely. Right, that's all I have to say about this movie. As always, stay cool, stay safe, and continue to watch movies the way they were meant to be seen in the movie theaters with everybody else.